Hi, welcome to On Target with Larry Sparano, a very special edition for you today with a very special guest. As you can see, sitting with me in the studio is Rack of Rack Attack YouTube site, and you could go there and find out some very interesting information on conspiracies and what may be true, what isn't true, what's something in between. Rack knows quite a bit about many types of conspiracy theories. Before we proceed any further, first we want to state emphatically that what we're about to express are our opinions only. We're not alleging it's fact. Some of it may be fact. That's for you to decide, but we're not saying that it is fact. Also, all the images that you'll be seeing is under the fair use doctrine. So now to proceed with On Target with Larry Sparano and Rack of Rack Attack YouTube site. And first of all, Rack, I know that one of your favorite conspiracies to study is the New World Order, which is getting quite a bit of play in the media today, especially alternative media. And you apparently think that it does exist, it is real, and it is nefarious.
Correct. It amazes me that there are still people that believe that the New World Order is only conspiracy theory, bunk, it's nonsense, and it does not exist. It amazes me. So, as a person that might be looking towards me and saying, how could he believe the New World Order? I kind of look backwards at them and say, how could you not?
You're saying that there's a lot of evidence in terms of images that even that kind of reinforce what you're saying, that it is real and it is nefarious.
Correct.
What are some of those images?
Well, I can tell you how I got started. Very early on, I was watching, various programs, various people. One of them would be David Icke. It doesn't really matter where the source came from. What they got into was the street symbolism of Washington, D.C., and how there are images set into the street patterns of Washington, D.C. Now, when they're saying this, and they're saying that there's stars and owls and all sorts of pyramids and whatnot, I'm saying to myself, there's no way. There's no way that all that's in the street symbolism of Washington.
This is what we're seeing in front of us now. That's actually the layout of what?
That's the Capitol building in Washington, D.C., and what you're seeing in red are, I believe, the footpaths of the Capitol building. So it's outlined, and what does it look like to you?
It looks like an owl.
Right. And when you study the New World Order for 18 years like I have, then you know that owls are a big part of the New World Order. They represent perhaps Molech. We can get into this a little bit later. But there are other street symbolisms within this whole Washington, D.C. Let's switch up to the next image. And what you see there at the apex of that triangle would be where we were just looking, the owl. The Capitol building. Coming down on either side of that is what would appear to be a pyramid, and right in the where I'm pointing is like a little water. It's like a little moat set in there. Mm-hmm. That would be the gap in the pyramid, and then of course coming down on either side is the continuation of the pyramid.
And you say that this has a lot of symbolism related to the Masons, actually. Is that correct?
Masons, New World Order. If you take out your dollar bill and you look at the back of the dollar bill, on every single dollar bill in the United States is a pyramid with a floating eye over it in the capstone. If you read the inscription under it, and I'll look up, we can get a little closer so we can see it. Novus Ordo Seclorum. Now, there's many people that say that means New Order of the Ages. But for me, it looks and sounds like what it is. For me, Novus means new. If you study astronomy, you know that a new star in the sky, a bright object that's not been there before, is a nova. Mm-hmm. Order, what does it sound like?
Order.
Right, correct. And Seclorum, that's the disputed one. That's where they say of the ages. I say, like it sounds a lot like a secular to me. Ecclesiastic is where you deal with religion, priests, and churches and whatnot. And secular would be of the world, worldly. So, New World Order. It's written on every dollar bill that everybody has in the United States.
When was it first put on the dollar bill?
Well, the seal was created in 1776, or at least that's what's on the bottom of the dollar bill. Is
the Roman numerals
correct?
There.
Yeah, 1776. Now that was
which was the founding of the nation.
Founding of the nation, I believe, also founding of the Illuminati. I believe it corresponds with that. The next, let's see here.
Annuit Copus.
That means something like he shines upon our endeavor or on our enterprise. He being the eye, what was represented as the eye.
And the eye is what?
Well, there's a lot of different names for it. Eye of Ra, Eye of Horus, Eye of Providence. If you speak to people that do not follow along with this New World Order nefarious thing, they'll just say the Eye of Providence. There's even some that will say that's the Eye of Satan.
All right, and you're saying also that ties in with Masonry, Freemasonry.
Correct, yeah. You can see squares and compasses that would match that particular design also.
The symbol of the Masons, the logo of the Masons is the compass and the square.
Square, correct,
square. Yeah.
Well, Freemasons actually designed this particular Great Seal of the United States. That's what this is.
And the layout of the streets.
Again, designed by Masons.
Designed by Masons. It was a French architect, wasn't it, who was also a Mason?
Correct, yeah.
So there's a tie in there, you say. Now what else in terms of symbolism?
Well, we get back to that eye. Well, what's the eye part again? Well, the eye represents a religion to people that want to control the world. This nefarious group that I believe exists and wants to control the world. We'll call it the Eye of Ra, we'll call it the Eye of Horus. They have a great deal of influence in our modern society. They have influence in Hollywood, with the major music industries, and what I can show you is some of that examples. And here, what they like to do as a group is to show off. They like to get their symbolism out there. So what they'll do is they'll have actors, actresses, musicians, very popular people, influential people, cover an eye, encircle an eye, or show some type of representation of only one eye being visible.
And you say there's numerous representations.
Right, yeah, there's only a few here, but if I continue on, somebody has made these montages where you can see more and more of them. I even have an additional one where there's quite a bit of people covering an eye, looking through an eye, peeking through a circle with their fingers, only with one eye showing. You can find movie posters following along the same pattern. For instance, here's a movie poster, two of them, I believe. One's Harrison Ford, I don't know who the other person is, but it's again with that symbology of having something in front of an eye, or having an eye covered, or an eye encircled, or just putting your hand over an eye.
See Kevin Spacey there, too, of recent ill fame.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. And look at this guy, he's even making the pyramid symbol upside down, but he's still making it.
Now, have any of them explained this away that, just a current Hollywood fad, everybody's doing it, just a kind of a funny thing, a joke thing that everybody's picking up on, and it's just, just one of those fads that kids engage in now and then.
Well, if it is a fad or if it is funny, there's a heck of a lot of highly popular musicians and influential people doing it. Also, it goes back to at least 40s and 50s where I've seen people doing this type of gesture, especially in posed photographs.
Oh, so it's not just recent then, is what you're saying?
No, it goes back.
Okay. And what else do we have?
Well, the same thing goes for corporate logos. Within corporate logos, within AOL's logo, which would be, let's see if you can see it, but I believe this is either AOL logo or I think it's a defunct logo now, but you'll always see, well, not always, but you'll see a pyramid or an eye shape or a combination of pyramid and eye. It's in many, many logos. Here's another AOL, the old AOL. I don't know if they're still operating or not. You have CBS. I'm not even sure what this is, but you'll see a lot of corporate logos carrying on the same trend. An eye, a pyramid within an eye, or some combination thereof.
Well, some critics of conspiracy theories, some debunkers of conspiracy theories, especially the New World Order, just say that, well, this is just generally a symbol that's been adapted as a thrust towards a better world. That it's an idealism that people would like us to achieve as a country, as a world community, and there's nothing nefarious about it.
Well, I'll tell you what, we can get there, but you know what I have problems with? I have problems with people not even believing that the New World Order exists. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I'll do is I'll try to show them this particular video. This video comes from one that I have on my own channel.
Is this where we've got people actually mouthing the phrase?
Correct.
Okay, now I've long known and have heard and seen on the internet George H.W. Bush talking about New World Order several times, but you're saying there were many other politicians and prominent people mouthing that same phrase.
Correct. Yeah, let's find out if there's more than just George H.W. Poppy Bush.
The New World Order.
Roosevelt.
A new world order. A new world order. New world order. A new world order.
For a new world order, give a new world order for the new world order.
New world order.
This new and involving world order. The new.
That's going to my song. Here, let me back it up.
New world order.
New world order. This new and involving world order. The new world order.
A new world order. The new world order.
The New World Order.
A new world order. New world order. A new world order. New world order. New world order. New world order.
The New World Order. The New World Order.
A new order for the centuries, for the ages, forever.
A New World Order. A New World Order.
Interdependent world order.
The New World Order. A New World Order.
A new world order.
The New World Order.
The New World Order.
It's a New World Order. New World Order.
The New World Order.
The New World Order.
Of a new world order.
A new world order. A new world order.
A new world order.
The world order that I think all of us would like to see.
And then it goes into my song.
All right, some very prominent people there, and the last one being Obama. A new world order, he says, that we'd all like to see. Again, getting back to, there's nothing sinister about it. It's just that they'd like a better world that we should all work towards. That's what they're saying.
Well, what we're going to get into is an opinion that is more than just a better and new world. Let's see if I can find it. What I want to show you is the Georgia Guidestones.
I've heard about those.
Yes, and I'm not sure where they went to. No. They're gone. I don't have them up.
Well, describe them and we could probably show them a little bit later.
All right, well, if you want to do this post-production, that's great. The Georgia Guidestones are a big set of monuments set in Georgia. They appeared from nowhere one day. No one knows who really put them there. There's a guy that's associated with them, but it's a pseudonym, R.C. Christian. Probably the only people that know the real identity would be the people that made the monument itself, or the bank that has the funds that maintains the site.
And they just suddenly appeared.
Yeah, just came one day they weren't there, one day they were there.
And nobody claimed credit for it, nobody claimed ownership, nobody knows anything about it.
Except for this pseudonym R.C. Christian. Yeah, no one knows who this R.C. Christian true identity is.
And what's the significance of of what's on those stones?
Well, many people believe that the New World Order is the ones that put them there. And one of the first things that they have on these stones is like a 10 Commandments type thing. They have 10 lists of future things and orders for the world to do. One of them being to maintain humanity under 500 million. Now, if you maintain humanity under 500 million people, then the question is, what's going to happen to the other 7 billion people that currently exist?
And that's written in stone on the Georgia Guidestones.
Written in stone, right.
About reducing the population.
Correct. So that's, for me, is where the nefarious part comes in. If they want to kill 7 billion people, or otherwise remove them from the earth, I would say that killing 7 billion people is somewhat nefarious.
Yeah, if that's what the plan is. Now, you're saying that this goes way back. We saw the beginning of those clips, the assemblage of clips, starting off with Franklin D. Roosevelt, which goes back to the 40s, and he mentioned New World Order.
Correct. What we can do is look at his entire speech, or at least parts of it. when he starts talking about the New World Order,
Hitler has often protested that his plans for conquest do not extend across the Atlantic Ocean, but his submarines and radars prove otherwise. And so that the entire design of his New World Order, For
referring to
example,
Hitler.
I have in my possession a secret map made in Germany by Hitler's government, by the planners of the New World Order.
The planners of the New World
It is
Order.
a map of South America and a part of Central America, as Hitler proposes to reorganize it. Today in this area, there are 14 separate countries. But the geographical experts in Berlin have ruthlessly obliterated all existing boundary lines. They have divided South America into 5 vassal states, bringing the whole continent under their domination. And they have also so arranged it that the territory of one of these new puppet states includes the Republic of Panama and our great lifeline, the Panama Canal. That is his plan. It will never go into effect.
And if you can see, he does not like the idea of the New World Order. He does not like the idea of this going forward. However, everybody else in that previous video that I showed you does like the idea of a New World Order. They, like you, say that it's something good, something to look forward to. Every single person that we just showed, other than FDR, has made the case for it being something good. Now, this happened after World War II. So, what took place after World War II? Well, they had the Project Paperclip, where they took all the Nazi scientists, distributed them throughout the world. I would imagine that after conquering Germany, they went in, got the plans for this New World Order, perhaps took a look at the New World Order, the way it was laid out by Hitler, and they liked it. And this goes on to the globalists. We're calling them globalists. I call them nefariously, or nebulously, New World Order. This is basically just a group of super rich people that want to control the world.
And why do they want to control the world?
Well, I mean, just for the same reason for anybody else. First of all, they have all the money in the world. They don't really need any more money. What they have is power. They want power. They crave the power to control.
And those 6 huge corporations.
Well, this goes to a different aspect of what I believe is going on. What I believe is going on is that someone somewhere way back when, perhaps 50, 80 years ago or whatever it may be, said to themselves, the United States has such military might. We can't take it over militarily. But what can we do? Well, I believe they put together a plan of psychologically infiltrating and taking over the United States. They did not want to go up against its military, so what they wanted to do was change the people's minds, capture the minds of people. What has gone on over the years is that many of the media corporations, which there used to be hundreds of media corporations, small paper, small magazines, TV channels, and whatnot, have basically all combined and and gotten into where it comes down to 6 companies own everything.
Yeah, those 6 companies are heavily involved in media.
Correct. And how hard would it be to control 6 CEOs? So what I want to show next would be Operation Mockingbird. Operation Mockingbird is a CIA initiative that says, well, we're going to propagandize outwards using this type of media control that we have.
You know, before we go any further, I should have said this in the introduction. I should have asked this question in the introduction. Why the mask?
Oh, well, obviously the things that I'm talking about could be disliked by some. It's ridiculed, disliked, and some people just simply do not like it to the extent of they will do harm. They will try to attempt to do harm.
The skeptics out there would be asking, no tinfoil cap for you?
Well, that might come later, because I'll tell you what, it's a Faraday cage, and if they, the big they, don't like it, then there might be something good to it.
All right, so we shouldn't assume that you're some kind of a nutcase because you say that you've done 18 years of research, and all these things you say are at least, at the very least, strong circumstantial evidence painting a complete picture if you really examine it.
Correct. Yeah. If you start to see how a few things start to mesh together and add together, it's kind of like a detective. You go to a crime scene, you see evidence of a murder. You might see some bloodstains over here, a knife over there with fingerprints, maybe a knocked over bookcase over here. But if you start putting together the clues, that's when the whole picture starts to come through. Any one clue or any few clues would not do it.
All right, Operation Mockingbird.
Correct.
Tell us about that.
Well, as I said, it's a CIA program to basically push the propaganda that they want pushed to control minds. And I want to show you an example of such a thing, where here is a news organization that says certain things. I can only show you part of this video because we don't want to steal too much of this video. We can only show parts of it, but I'll skip around.
Here's Jessica Headley.
And I'm Ryan Wolf.
Our greatest responsibility is to serve our Treasure Valley communities,
the El Paso, Las Cruces communities,
Eastern Iowa communities.
So what we're seeing here is various communities saying basically the same type of thing. I'm going to go forward to where you can see that all these little news stations around the United States are saying the exact same word. So, if you want to push out an ideology, you grab hold of the American media, you say, this is what I want out there, and you just distribute it down the lines, and you have a million little news companies going to be out there pushing that ideology for you.
All these introductions are basically the same. You're saying word for word the same.
Exactly the same.
And,
Yep.
and that's no accident.
No, and this isn't the only example of it. I believe Conan O'Brien used to use this as a joke feature on his show. He would show this exact same type of thing.
So they're all on the same page, the same talking point is what
Same words, same page, same everything. And I believe that the American media, the American Hollywood, any communication, any influential system is being controlled by the New World Order.
All right, I worked in TV. I was an anchor, and I often read introductions to pre-produced pieces from network, and there would be a suggested introduction, which could be what's going on here, and that's why everything is exactly the same, because all these anchors shown didn't vary the suggested intro. But you're saying it's more than that sort of thing. It's that this was put out there knowing that especially local stations are just going to go what the network feeds them, so therefore the introductions would be the same to the same pre-produced package from network, talking about what they want the public to be indoctrinated with.
The skeletal structure is here, and whether it's being put out, by the head of the network to just get information out in a uniform way, or could be easily taken over and used by the New World Order to push out certain ideologies.
Well, the CIA has admitted years ago that they do have major media figures on their payroll.
Correct.
So that's already been admitted. The quotes on that, the records on that could be retrieved, and that goes way back. I mean, when they made that statement, it was from years ago, but there's no reason to presume, I guess, that it doesn't still go on. I mean, it was well known in the past that there were people who were major media of the day working with the CIA.
Do you know who that is?
Alex Jones.
What happened to him?
He is no longer, on YouTube and other platforms?
YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. At the first day that he was taken off these platforms, I believe he was taken off something like 45 different platforms. After about a week, maybe 2 weeks at the most, it was over 200 platforms that he was taken off of. Now, I mean, we live in the United States of America. The First Amendment, free speech. Whether Alex Jones is right, wrong, or otherwise, whether he's a nice guy or an idiot, it would make no difference. Why are 200 organizations taking him off and destroying his ability of free speech?
Well, in terms of free speech, he still has it under the Constitution, under the First Amendment. However, the argument is they are private organizations. Therefore, they've got a right to include who they want, exclude who they want.
And isn't that convenient? If you go back prior to YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, the internet was full of internet sites. It was full of different places to go. I believe a plan was conceived and initiated to say, and others believe this too, to say, let's get these people herded into these little pens, these digital ghettos, was the nickname that Drudge and Alex Jones came up with. To stick people in digital ghettos, hit them with a terms of service, and then you can bypass the United States government laws and then crush their free speech and get away with it.
What was their stated reason for yanking him off all these things?
Oh, that he's being mean and he's harming others, and he's, well, I believe one of them was that he tried to initiate violence. These things are disputed, and basically, according to Alex Jones, they are absolutely not true.
A lot of people think he's a total nutcase. Other people think he's a somewhat of a nutcase. Other people say most of what he says is true. How do you fall along that scale?
Well, I believe he's a genius. However, I have met people that believe that he's a total nutcase. And when I ask them, well, how often have you watched him? How often have you seen his show? And it's almost invariably that they've hardly ever seen anything about Alex Jones except for the little clips that they are plucked out of his worst tirades and rants and put on the mainstream media to then demonize him.
But your position is that, nutcase or not, and you're not saying he is, but nutcase or not, he should be allowed on the internet to be freely expressing his views.
Absolutely. There's some sort of a weird takeover of this country, if only by the tech corporations who just basically thumb their nose at the First Amendment of the United States.
All right, so what else do you have?
Let's see. We have... Oh, here's a search that I've done about Sandy Hook. Mm-hmm. Now, if I scroll down, you're going to see that the media organizations putting out this results that come back from a YouTube search are all the mainstream medias. ABC, NBC, CBS, ABC, PBS, and on and on and on. These are all the mainstream media. So YouTube has changed its algorithm to push up all these mainstream media sources. It used to be, I've done this search before, whether it be Sandy Hook or the next one, which I will not say verbally, but that next search that if your viewing audience can see it, I've done that search also. And what it used to be is a whole bunch of small YouTube sites that were speculating on inconsistencies they saw in a news event. But not anymore. Now it's all the mainstream media narrative. Well, this is somebody pushing an agenda. This is somebody trying to control the thoughts and minds and the way the United States thinks.
Well, the mainstream media would have been more prominent in the stacking to begin with, right? Because
they weren't even in existence. As far as YouTube went, when this first took place, there was hundreds of small sites saying that this is an inconsistency here, there's an inconsistency there. However, the mainstream media kept the mainstream media narrative, but they were not popular back when this first took place. So if you did a search like this back then, you would get all these smaller sites. Not anymore. Now, you cannot find Alex Jones. You cannot find any of these things questioning the official narrative. This is steering of the minds of the masses. This goes back to that Mockingbird, but even more directly because they can control what you're able to find and see. Now, this goes to 1967. The CIA created the label conspiracy theories. I would say that they didn't exactly create it. What they did was they demonized it. So if anybody questions, and this has to do with the JFK assassination, the Warren Report, if anybody said back at the time that they didn't like the Warren Report, they might have saw some sort of inconsistencies, or how possibly could this happen, or the pristine bullet, or the magic twist in the air of the bullet. Well, if they questioned the Warren Report, the CIA had a counter to that. They did not want people questioning. So what they did, and these are FOIA documents, they demonized the word
FOIA, Freedom of
Information Act, yes. Yeah. They demonized the phrase conspiracy theorist, and they made it a bad type of thing. And it's been used ever since for almost anything. You don't believe in 9/11 happened the way it happened? Oh, you're a conspiracy theorist. And then it stops the masses from looking into it. It's a fear type factor. An added embarrassment factor. Oh, I'm not going to look into that. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. But when you do look into certain things, you start to see, whoa, there's more to it than meets the eye.
What's all this about Bohemian Grove? You want to go to that now or come up
Exactly
with
now. Bohemian Grove is a little meeting place out in the San Francisco area woods, in the middle of the woods, where they have very high and powerful and influential people, presidents, CEOs of companies, presidents of companies, kings, queens, who knows, but very influential people go out there in the middle of the night, wear robes, or at least participate in a ceremony that has that.
And it's confirmed that these high-profile people do attend.
Well, let me ask you. There's a picture right on the Wikipedia website regarding Bohemian Grove, and this is confirmed picture of who is this on the right-hand side?
Nixon.
Correct. I don't know why it just went small on me. Okay. And who is this on the left-hand side?
That was a New World Order, by the way. Hacking into our site.
Maybe.
Making it smaller, difficult to see. Difficult to see that is Ronald Reagan.
Correct. So these are the type of people that attend this event and this outing that they have every July, in mid-July. And this is the Bohemian Club logo, which goes back to that owl symbolism.
Yeah.
Many people believe the owl is the owl of Molech, where they would take a child and sacrifice the child to Molech. And they would sacrifice it by burning to Molech.
And who is Molech? Molech.
An ancient god. It's mentioned in the Bible. An ancient god where people would perform child sacrifices to. And there is a representation of the owl or Molech, which many people believe it is, in the Bohemian Grove. It's a 40-foot, made out of ceramics and whatnot. It actually has an interior in it. But they perform a ceremony in front of this owl in the middle of the night in mid-July and burn an effigy of a child.
Mid-July, midsummer.
Midsummer's Night Dream, yeah, like Shakespeare.
The symbolism of midsummer is what?
Well, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Do you know?
I guess, the summer solstices and all that, they have a significance, astrologically and all that. I don't know.
Correct, yeah.
But it's always in mid-July.
I believe so, yes, mid-July. Alex Jones actually happened to sneak in there, I believe around the year 2000, somewhere around there. And he took footage of the ceremony. Now, it's a little cockeyed, it's a little distant and hard to see, but he was wearing a belt camera, so that's why it was a little difficult. So we'll play a little bit of it. What I'm going to do is skip around a little bit just to see different parts of it.
What this do we know? Once again, midsummer sets us free.
Anyway, in the middle of the night, out in a wooded forest, in a grove, you have the most powerful people. Oh, here's a little bit better example. Here's a better video.
So shall we burn thee once again this night, and in the flames that eat thine effigy, we shall read the sign, midsummer sets us free. You shall burn me once again.
Now, what do you think of Reagan and Nixon being out there participating in something like this?
And this is real.
This is real. Yeah. Yeah.
What other bizarre activities are they engaged in?
Well, who knows? I've heard all sorts of things out there.
But they're running around in robes in the middle of the night, carrying torches
and burning an effigy to
Moloch.
Well, many people believe it's Moloch. Yes.
All right.
Let's see what else we have. In the center here, I believe that is the Bilderberg Group. So we went from Bohemian Grove, now we're talking about the Bilderberg Group.
Which is what?
Well, it's a once a year event that's held in different places around the world. One of the first places being the Bilderberg Hotel, and I don't know where it was at. I forget where that was at. But it's a group, again, of very powerful and influential people that get together and discuss who knows what. It used to be that if you talked about the Bilderberg Group and you said, well, let's check into this, people would say, no, it don't exist. It doesn't exist. Mm-hmm. But it was exposed so many times that finally they had to start coming out and admitting that it exists. They do it now to the point of even posting their attendees.
And who attends, John?
Well, let's take a look right around here. If you can see, I've highly magnified this. Now, I'm not looking for anybody in specific with this graphic because the graphic is just too small. Yeah. But what I want to show you is the amount of influence around the world. Like, for instance, here on the edges are some of the people that attend. But when you back out, you can see the organizations that they have influence over. And there's connections between all these people. And who knows what they do? Why is it such a secret? Why do they have such security at these events that people cannot get in and don't know what's going on?
And most of them are prominent people in politics and business, industry, whatever.
Correct, yes.
Media.
Correct. Any influential or super powerful, super rich, super influential person.
Well, that's kind of like the Council on Foreign Relations, right?
Correct. That would be, yes, that would be something in this particular United States of America area, the Council on Foreign Relations, exactly like that.
But, in both cases, Council of Foreign Relations and Bilderberg, they say, all right, it is a bunch of rich, influential people getting together to discuss world politics and issues that affect everybody in a harmless, not nefarious.
Well, if you want to be a sovereign country, running your own thing, why is there so many people scheming to take that away from you? I mean, it appears that way. It appears that the United States, as a sovereign country, is heading more and more in the lines of giving up its sovereignty.
And what are the manifestations of that? How we're giving up our sovereignty?
Well, many of the treaties that we would get engaged in or sign, NAFTA, I believe, being one of them, has in it different stipulations saying that you must give up this particular aspect of your sovereignty.
Well, I think more so with Trans-Pacific Partnership, which Hillary Clinton was endorsing. She said it was a gold standard during the campaign with Trump, until she was challenged about that, then she backed off. But that would have actually given up sovereignty of the member nations, where it would be a group of them, board of directors or whatever, deciding what should be done with trade issues, and any member violating it could be subject to fines or bans or whatever. So the individual member countries, as I understand it, would be giving up their sovereignty of control, and the control would go to the directors of the Trans-Pacific Partnership.
Now, what you just described, what does that sound like, similar to that we discussed already tonight?
Yeah, I'm giving up sovereignty. What?
The Twitter, the YouTube, and the Facebook and other social media control through their terms of service. You're giving up sovereignty. So now their terms of service overrides the First Amendment. So it's almost the same thing. It's almost like they're playing the same hand. So you kind of like reinforced the hand that's being played with social media. Taking away of sovereignty through an end-around play.
Well, you're also saying that the UN does a lot of that too, and we engage in UN projects where it's actually the UN in control.
Correct. Right.
Recent case in point was...
Well, let's hit Echelon, which I have up on the screen here. Many years ago, so-called conspiracy theorists were warning that every email, telephone call, cell phone call, almost any online electronic conveyance between two people are being recorded and tracked and so forth. So, of course, they were all called conspiracy theorists until, and let's go forward, a certain thing called Prism came out, and who brought it out? Snowden. Snowden copies documents, releases them to the public, and all of a sudden he confirmed that all this stuff is true. Where only like a few years beforehand, it was conspiracy theory where you're a nut if you believe it's true. Mm-hmm. However, he proved it. Let's continue forward a little bit. DARPA.
Which stands for?
I don't know what it stands for, but however, they do a lot of research for the United States as far as secret programs go, developing secret things. Now, this is their logo. Does that look nefarious to you?
That doesn't, no.
No, well, let's go into their previous logo. Their previous logo, what does that look like now?
Yeah, you know, I remember that when it first came out, and I said, oh, yeah, that's pretty extreme. Yeah, Information Awareness Office.
What they were after was total information awareness. Matter of fact, I believe, Cynthia est potentia, knowledge is power. That's what that means right there.
And again, we have the Masonic symbol with the pyramid and the all-seeing eye.
Yes.
Gazing over the whole world. It's a vision.
Not only that, but also focusing mostly on North America.
Yeah.
That's what would be over in that area.
I mean, that's pretty blatant.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Why would they do that if they're trying to hide, their nefarious agenda?
I believe that that many people in the New World Order, especially the higher ups, believe that they have it so in the lock, that they have it in the bag, that they don't care anymore. They don't care anymore about hiding it.
But they did change it.
They changed it after a public outcry.
Yeah.
Yeah, public did not like the symbolism coming at them, so they did change it to the previous one I just showed you. When you hear, we'll wrap this up, but when we hear sustainable development, that has towards a UN type of agenda. Let's continue real quickly. Again, sustainable, green things, environmental type things. This is one of the vectors of UN control. UN and other people are gaining more control, or want to, through this type of thing. Again, going back to the giving up of sovereignty, that the world is in crisis, we have to give up sovereignty. These are the nefarious aspects of the New World Order. And what people often say to me is, well, do you have a little bit more solid evidence of a global government and takeover? Well, there are many UN documents, if you do the search, for a PDF file. One is Our Global Neighborhood, which is a big one, but I cannot find it in PDF. You have to buy the book, actually. But it is, you can see right here. Here's one of them, a PDF document talking about Agenda 2030. And if you scroll through it and read it, now I have not read all this. I have read parts and skipped around, but they do head towards global governments. And basically, almost like it's a lock. Like this is what's going to happen. This is their looking forward agenda that they want to get accomplished by, obviously, 2030. So when we say nefarious, when we say, these things are going on, it's not like there isn't documents. It's like you need to do a little bit of research on your own.
And you showed me at one time a old clip of Walter Cronkite in front of some group saying that he endorsed the need for a world government and the U.S. giving up sovereignty.
Correct. And that people equated him to being like a demonic doing this. And he said something to the effect of, well, if that makes me a demon, I am glad to sit at the right hand of Satan.
And we might be able to put that up.
I can find it, sure.
Okay. And we can do that in post-production after this.
We can do it in real production, like right here.
World government is the structure necessary for global justice.
I'm in a position to speak my mind, and by God, I'm going to do it. First, we Americans are going to have to yield up some of our sovereignty. That's going to be, to many, a bitter pill. Today, we must develop federal structures on a global level. To deal with world problems, we need a system of enforceable world law, a democratic federal world government. Most important, we should sign and ratify the Treaty for a Permanent International Criminal Court. Pat Robertson has written in a book a few years ago that we should have a world government, but only when the Messiah arrives. He wrote, literally, any attempt to achieve world order before that time must be the work of the devil. Well, join me. I'm glad to sit here at the right hand of Satan.
The most trusted man in America. I hadn't seen that clip before.
We need a system of...
So that is a quick introduction to what I believe the New World Order is all about. And it goes much deeper. There's much more things about this.
All right, Mr. Rack, we'll be back with more of New World Order and other conspiracies.
Right after you promote my site.
Yes, don't forget to go to Rack Attack Gamer, which you'll find on YouTube.
Right.
And Rack deals at length with this subject and many other conspiracies. Food for thought at the very least to gather more information before you make up your mind to come to a final conclusion about whether it's a conspiracy or not. See ya.